Story 1. My wife cheated with her boss at the office Christmas party. My revenge story. Hi, everyone. I'm about to tell you the story of how my life took a wild turn when I found out my husband was cheating on me, and how I managed to get the ultimate revenge. Buckle up because this ride is going to be rough. I'm Amanda, 34, and I thought I had it all. A good job, a beautiful home, and a loving husband. Or so I thought. We've been married for 10 years. And I can honestly say in the beginning, everything was perfect. David, my husband, was charming, funny, and treated me like a queen. But little did I know that charm would eventually turn into deceit. It all started when David began staying late at work. At first, I didn't think much of it. He's an accountant, so tax season always kept him busy. But when tax season ended and the late nights didn't, that's when my suspicions began to grow. And then, there was the change in his behavior. He became distant, more secretive, and less interested in, well, everything to do with me. So, one night I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. I went through his phone, feeling like the world's worst wife. But guess what? I found exactly what I was looking for. Texts, lots of them, from a woman named Rachel. They were flirty, dirty, and made my stomach turn. The last text I read, "Can't wait to see you tonight." Same hotel? That's when my world shattered. But instead of confronting him right away, I decided to play it smart. I mean, what good would screaming and crying do? That would just let him win, right? No, I had to plan something bigger, something that would hit him where it hurts. The next day, I acted like nothing was wrong. I kissed him goodbye as he left for work, told him I loved him, and watched him smile like the snake he was. Little did he know, I had a plan brewing. I followed him that night. Yep, I played detective and tailed him all the way to the hotel where he was meeting Rachel. I watched as they entered the room together, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. My blood was boiling, but I kept my cool. I needed the perfect moment to strike, so what did I do? I waited. And then I called the hotel, pretending to be his loving wife who just had to surprise her husband on his business trip. The receptionist, bless her heart, believed every word and gave me a key to his room. I could have burst in right then, but no, that would have been too easy. I waited in the hotel lobby for about an hour, just imagining what was happening in that room. Then, I made my move. With the hotel key in hand, I quietly entered the room and found them exactly how you'd imagine, tangled in sheets, unaware of the hell about to rain down on them. I stood there for a second, taking it all in. And then I calmly said, "Hope you two are enjoying yourselves." You should have seen their faces. David jumped out of bed like he'd seen a ghost. And Rachel? Well, she just screamed and tried to cover herself with the blanket, but it was too late. The damage was done. David stammered, "Amanda, it's not what it looks like." Really, David? You're naked in bed with another woman and it's not what it looks like. I didn't even waste my breath arguing. Instead, I took out my phone and started filming. "Say cheese, you cheating bastard," I said, capturing every moment of their embarrassment. David tried to grab the phone from me, but I was quicker. "Touch me, and this goes straight to your boss," I threatened. Then I did something that shocked even myself. I grabbed Rachel's clothes, which were scattered on the floor, and tossed them out the window. She screamed, but I just laughed. "Good luck getting home, sweetheart," I said, as I walked out of the room, slamming the door behind me. But that wasn't the end of it. No, I wasn't done yet. The next day, I sent the video to a few of our mutual friends, just to let them know what kind of man David really was. And if that wasn't enough, I also sent it to his boss, letting him know that David had been spending company hours at a hotel room with his mistress. Let's just say, David's little affair cost him his job. Oops. David tried to apologize, of course. He begged me to take him back, swore it was a mistake, said he loved me and only me. But I was done. You don't get to betray someone like that and then pretend everything's okay. I kicked him out, filed for divorce, and never looked back. And you know what? Life is so much better now. I'm free, I'm happy, and I'm living my best life. David? Well, last I heard, Rachel dumped him when he couldn't afford their fancy hotel rendezvous anymore. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? So here's my advice to anyone who's ever been cheated on. Don't let them break you. Don't let them win. Get your revenge. But more importantly, get your life back. because you deserve so much more than someone who can't see your worth. Story 2. Emma's shocking confrontation, husband's affair exposed in dramatic twist. I'm Jessica, and my life was perfect. Until it wasn't. I was married to the man of my dreams, Ben. He was everything I could have asked for. Kind, loving, and a genuinely good person. We had been together for 10 years, and I thought we were unstoppable. But I had a secret. A dark, twisted secret that was about to unravel everything. It all started when I met Matt. He was charming, handsome, and everything Ben wasn't. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. What began as a harmless flirtation quickly turned into an affair. I knew it was wrong, but the thrill was too intoxicating. Matt and I kept our relationship hidden, sneaking around behind Ben's back. I convinced myself that I deserved this, that Ben would never understand the void he'd left in my life. Then came the day when everything changed. I was at home, and Ben was supposed to be working late. Matt and I were in the middle of one of our secret rendezvous when the front door creaked open. My heart raced. I hadn't expected Ben to come home early. Panic set in. I threw on my clothes as Matt scrambled to hide, but it was too late. Ben saw us, his face twisted in a mix of confusion and betrayal. I tried to explain, but the words caught in my throat. I saw the pain in his eyes, and it broke me. Ben didn't say a word. He just turned and walked out, leaving me alone with my guilt and regret. In the weeks that followed, our life fell apart. Ben moved out, filed for divorce, and I was left to pick up the pieces. But the guilt ate at me. I couldn't bear the thought of Ben moving on while I was stuck in this hell of my own making. I wanted to make things right, to explain myself, to beg for forgiveness. But Ben refused to talk to me. He didn't even return my calls. Desperation drove me to do something drastic. I hatched a plan to force Ben to listen to me, to understand why I did what I did. I knew it was insane, but I felt I had no other choice. I hired a guy named Gary to help me. Gary was a rough, no-nonsense type of guy, the kind you'd hire for dirty work. I told him the plan: knock Ben out, tie him up, and then I'd have my chance to explain everything. On the day of the confrontation, my heart was pounding. Gary and I waited at Ben's new apartment, hiding in the shadows. I had just enough time to rehearse my speech. I wanted to tell Ben everything. How much I regretted my actions, how I was sorry for the pain I'd caused. Gary's role was simple: subdue Ben and make sure he couldn't leave until I had my chance to make things right. Ben arrived home, unsuspecting. As he walked through the door, Gary sprang into action. I watched with a sickening mix of anxiety and anticipation as Gary tackled Ben. The struggle was quick but intense. Ben fought back, but Gary's strength was overwhelming. Within moments, Ben was on the floor, unconscious and bound with ropes. I stared at Ben's restrained form, my heart racing. This was it. This was my chance. I knelt beside him, tears streaming down my face. I wanted to speak, to explain, but the reality of what I had done was hitting me hard. I was about to tear his life apart even more, and for what? To ease my own guilt? Then the unexpected happened. Just as I was about to start my speech, the door burst open. Gary's face went pale, and I turned to see a woman standing there. Lily, Ben's new girlfriend. She looked shocked but determined. Without a word, she lunged at me, pinning me to the ground. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Lily demanded, her voice a mix of anger and fear. "I'm trying to make things right," I shouted back, struggling against her grip. "I just need Ben to hear me out." Lily's eyes narrowed. "You've done enough. Ben's already been through hell because of you. I'm calling the police." My heart sank as Lily grabbed her phone and dialed 911. Panic gripped me. This was not how it was supposed to end. I tried to reason with her, to explain my desperation, but my words fell on deaf ears. By the time the police arrived, I was a wreck. They found me sitting on the floor, defeated and sobbing. Ben was taken to the hospital, and Lily stayed by his side. The police took me away, and I was charged with breaking and entering, assault, and unlawful restraint. As I sat in the police station waiting for my fate, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I'd fallen. My attempts to fix things had only made everything worse. I lost Ben, my reputation, and my freedom. All because I couldn't handle the consequences of my actions. In the end, I had to face the reality of what I'd done. I had to live with the knowledge that my actions had destroyed the life of the one person who had loved me unconditionally. And all I could hope for now was that Ben would find peace and move on from the chaos I had created. The charges against me were serious. I was sentenced to probation with mandatory social work and psychological counseling. This was my sentence: to live in constant condemnation and to struggle with my own conscience. All this time I was on the edge, trying to understand how I could have come to this. After the trial, I was allowed to leave the city, and I returned to my native village, where I started working in the local library. It was a quiet and peaceful place, far from the noise and chaos of the big city. I tried to find comfort in simple things: reading books, helping children with their homework, and volunteering. However, every day I woke up with a feeling of heaviness in my soul. The psychological sessions became more and more intense. I revealed the deepest corners of my heart to the psychologist, trying to understand why I did this. At times, it seemed that I would never be able to get out of this impasse, that all this happened only because I was too selfish and could not understand the real consequences of my actions. One evening, when I was alone, I received a message on my phone. It was from Lily. Her text was short but full of emotion. "I know you are going through hard times. I can't forgive what you did, but I can understand that you suffered too. If you need help, know that I'm here. Ben is still receiving treatment, but he wants to understand why this happened. Maybe you can talk sometime." I was shocked by this message. Lily and Ben were right. I had to try to do something to recover and maybe find peace within myself. I replied that I was open to either option and that if Ben was ready, I would like to meet him. A few weeks later, I managed to arrange a meeting. I went to the town where Ben and Lily lived now. When I walked into their apartment, I felt my legs shaking. Ben was sitting in the room with Lily, and when I saw him, I felt that this was going to be one of the hardest moments of my life. Ben looked exhausted, but he also looked calm, as if he had been preparing for this meeting. Lily sat next to him, supporting him, but her gaze was soft. I sat down on a chair and Ben started talking. "I don't know why it happened. You were a part of my life, and now it's like someone ripped out a piece of my soul," he began. "But I want to know why you did it. I just don't understand." I told him everything. About my feeling of emptiness, about how it seemed to me that life had become boring and monotonous, about how I sought comfort in the arms of someone else, even realizing that this was not a solution to the problem. I told him about my deep guilt and desire to understand how I could have caused such pain. Ben listened to me in silence. When I finished, he looked at me with an expression that was hard to decipher. It wasn't anger, but it wasn't forgiveness either. It was something in between, understanding and pain. "I appreciate you confessing," he said. "But even after everything that's happened, I still love you like a part of the past. I just can't go back to the way things were. You have to understand that this decision does not change what happened." I nodded, feeling deep sadness and relief at the same time. We spent a few more minutes together, trying to find some words of support and understanding, after which I said goodbye to them and returned home. This meeting was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I still struggled with my past, but I learned that it was important to accept my guilt and try to become a better person. And although I could not turn back time, I was able to start a new life in which I could find a way to forgiveness and inner peace.